If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Ron and Don Show, and I'm here with Santa Claus.
What is up, Ron and Don Nation?
What's that? Can we stop the show here for a moment?
Stop the show.
And we are live in the Let's Rob Studios. What is that ridiculous sweatshirt that you're wearing right now?
You tell me. You bought it for me. I'm trying to get a couple of spins out of it before it goes into the drawer.
I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I want to order this for Ron, but if I get it to him on Christmas, it's going to be too late.
Too late.
And you're only going to have like one afternoon you can read it. So I'm like, we were actually recording our Christmas card the other day with my son Gunnar and our friend Liz. And I'm like, maybe I should give it to him for the Christmas card, is we got our band Country Evil back together, and
I kind of like it.
I love it.
There's the one thing that's weird is there's like these black spots on it, but I think it's part of the Santa painting. But,
yeah, it's supposed to look like you went down the chimney.
I see.
It's supposed to be ash.
I actually was like, did Don back into like a black paint and then give this to me after it was dirty? But
no. That's how it's supposed. That's
yeah. There's some. It's a very interesting sweatshirt.
It's very Santa Claus.
Yeah, but I thought I'd give it a spin on the old podcast.
If you really rethought Santa Claus and what he does, coming down a chimney, going into your child's room when you're not around, leaving some milk and cookies, sitting on his lap.
Time out. You didn't give any disclaimers here.
What do you mean?
You usually give a Santa talk disclaimer.
Oh.
Because there are a lot of children that have secondhand exposure to the Ron and Don Show.
No, I still believe. I'm just saying you would give it a second thought. I'm not giving it a second thought. I'm just saying that other people would possibly give it a second thought. But
disclaimer of Santa talk. So.
Anyway, I'm very excited about the holiday. Are you going somewhere for the holidays?
I will be going to see my mom and dad this year.
That's awesome.
It's pretty exciting. I was supposed to go a little earlier, and I couldn't make that trip, so I haven't seen them in a while.
How do the toys work? Because a lot of times when you haven't seen other family members for a while, I don't feel like I have to buy them anything, and my family certain doesn't buy. Birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, I don't get a phone call. I don't get a text message. I don't get a present. I'm pretty good at still, my sister just had a birthday and I sent her a present. I don't know if she got it or not because I didn't hear back from her, which is par for the course, which I'm a little bitter about because I do like to be thanked for my gifts. But what do you do if you're going there and you're like, do you have to buy Christmas gifts for all your family members they haven't seen for a while?
I do not, because my Christmas gift is the hundreds and hundreds, probably over $1,000 you spend on travel. But I'll buy a little something here or there.
Stop the program.
No, we're already stopped.
It's a double stop. It's a double.
Stop the show.
So your Christmas gift is that you're there.
Is that I travel.
That's not a gift.
Yes, it is a gift.
It's not a gift.
Yeah, trust me, it's a gift.
It's a gift to you. It's not a gift to them.
You ask my mother. She says it's a gift to her.
Well, that's what mothers say. They don't mean it. They still want you to buy them
if
some pearls.
Said, Mother, would you rather me give you a gift or come to visit you? She would take
that's
visit
what
every
time.
Exactly.
They probably want both.
Yeah. But everyone's still going to get a small gift. But it's not going to be an extravagant
Here's my
gift.
question. When I used to travel, and I remember I dated a girl for 3 years. In fact, you know her well. We're still very good friends today. Her name's Laura.
That's in the top 5% of Don relationship lengths.
That's right.
3 years is a long time.
But we're still talking. It's 30 years later. So anyway, we're almost 30 years. 27, I think. So we went out to dinner the other night. So anyway, I was living with her in San Francisco. One of the first times I actually lived with someone. And it was time to go home for Christmas. And so we're going home to see my mom and her new husband. And it used to be my mom never had any room for us anyway when she lived alone. But when she got remarried, she had rooms. And she's like, hey, just so you know, if you're coming here, you can sleep here, but she has to sleep in a hotel. Was kind of she couldn't even stay in the house in the other room. She had to stay at a hotel. We've been living together for years. My mother came and visited with her husband and stayed at our place, and they slept in the same room. I'm not even sure if they were married yet or not. So what are the rules for you if you're traveling with a significant other? Are you allowed to stay at your parents' place in the same room? Is this a conversation? Is it talked about?
No, it's not even a big deal now. My sister has a condo in the same city.
Yeah.
And if it's available, it's great because they have a pool and the whole nine, but I don't think it's available this time, so we'll be in the guest room at my mom and dad's
That's
house.
allowed.
What do you mean it's allowed?
I'm just asking because it would still probably not be allowed.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
I was a man.
I don't even, I wouldn't even, it's not even a topic of conversation.
Okay,
in
you're
our
arriving
house.
with no gifts, but your gift is yourself.
I am the gift.
You are the gift.
As everybody should know by now.
Real quick, talking about gifts, by the time that you've heard this, this will be on Monday's show. In fact, Monday's show is coming out. Where were we this morning on Monday? We were hanging out with who?
Yeah, we are going to the Showware Center.
No, we were there this morning.
We were already at the Showware Center hanging out with the folks from Les Schwab.
Yeah.
And I do want to give a thanks because there's been lots of bad weather recently. There have been people that you get busy with your own holiday plans and parties you got to go to and the office party and buying gifts and everything. So to everyone that has taken the time to grab an extra present. And it was fun. I bought some presents at Fred Meyer, and just seeing what the presents that exist right now was great. There's a Hot Wheels track that I bought that does loop-de-loops and all these cool things, and a Harry Potter thing that
you
I bought.
actually hung
that was
on
cool.
to it, and you said we're going to play with it tonight
Exactly.
at your Pasole party.
So, thanks to everybody that took the time to buy a gift for a child that would most likely not get a gift if it wasn't for you, and drop that by your local Les Schwab. So we appreciate that from the bottom of our heart.
And Rich and everyone at Les Schwab appreciates that also. We'll have a total for you, as this morning we were down there.
And we're counting it up right now.
Which we haven't been down there yet because we're
Why all of
recording
a sudden
this
we're pretending like we didn't we've been pre-recording
Matt told me
to act like it's the day of?
That's what he said. I'm just doing stuff that producer
But then
Matt
if someone listens to it not on the day it drops.
that's what I told him, and he didn't care.
It was made very clear earlier today that I am not the producer.
What happened?
I made a suggestion. And
what was the suggestion?
Well, that Dave Ross do the lead of the.
I totally forgot about that, Matt. I'm sorry.
What was it?
That Dave Ross do the outro to the break. I thought I was hearing his radio. He did a couple of radio bits, and I thought it'd be great if he did a.
And I forgot.
He's coming
Sorry,
up
Matt.
next. We could ask him then.
No, this is all live.
Talk about your tape delay problems. You bet.
Oh, but we already recorded, Dave.
Yeah.
I guess we should listen to Dave.
We are all over the place, aren't
It's
we?
crazy.
Yeah, real quick. Hey, I got to say, I love you like a brother. You know that.
But
I don't like to get real close to you, though, because anytime you're around, whether we're in New Orleans or Seattle, there seems to be a flood at your house. Is there another flood? You got flooded out in New Orleans. You've been flooded out a number of times here in Seattle. Tell me your tiny house right now isn't getting flooded.
so I have a tiny house in between Index and Gold Bar on the Skycomish River, and I'm getting pictures from my neighbors. The river has crested. It's at almost 22, almost 23 feet, which I believe is the level at my place. But my power's down, so I can't see. I have cameras up, security cameras on the property, but the internet is down. So either A, I have a little Elon Musk Skylink internet thing that has to be down by the river because you can't have tree coverage.
Yeah.
So either the water's up high enough to have swept that away, and I'll need to buy a new satellite system, or the power's out. A tree fell over the power line and knocked the power out. So when we're done recording today, I'm going to text my neighbor Joe up there and see if has cell coverage.
You told me the gate that we always go through when we come to see you.
There's a
and
car
there was a car floating by.
That's much lower than my place.
Okay.
As far as river-wise, I believe. But yeah, I've never seen a car floating in the gate area before.
Your trailer's up high. Yeah.
Trailer's up high, but it has a well, or the water system is in the ground, and the septic system is in the ground. So, and the shed is at ground level in the pump house. But
And to not get too much in your biz, but can you when you're in an area like that can possibly flood, because I'm thinking about other people right now that are going through this, and sometimes here in Seattle we look at these pictures of folks that are living in the surrounding area, and we see these god awful pictures.
Everything in like Startup and Index and the downriver from me, because I think I'm on the higher portion of this river.
I think so too, yeah.
There's a spillway that's very close, which I imagine has got to just be a deluge right now. But yeah, if you're in Startup, Index, Gold Bar, all the way down to Monroe, I would imagine that you're in some serious trouble.
Can those people get insurance for a lot of those homes?
I don't know what the flood
and
insurance likes. I don't know.
All right. Anyway, so what you're telling me is...
Might be doing some repairs to the tiny house this year. I have a staircase that goes down to the river, and I would imagine that that's gone by now.
Yeah.
My neighbor just texted me a picture. He has a pump house closer to the river for my next door neighbor, and he said the pump house got swept away. So we'll have to see what happens.
Man, okay. Well, just let us know, and we'll put together a group, and we'll head up there. And and your sewer and your water's underground.
Septic and the water tank are both underground, and
The water tank's underground?
Yep.
Does it have to be underground?
Doesn't have to be, but I didn't want a big water tank sitting in the driveway.
I would want one, I think.
A mini water tower?
Yeah.
And how do you get the water up into the tower?
Well, it wouldn't be flooded right now, would it? Wouldn't you do that with a pump? Would you do that with a pump?
I don't know. I have
There used to be water towers. It's incredible when you look at all the old pictures of Seattle, especially the early 1900s.
I didn't want to build a water tower.
And you look at all the water towers.
Because a lot of tree branches fall up there.
We could have put our names on there, Ron and Don.
Okay. Oh, you can build a water tower for me.
Anyway, and then finally, it's Pozole night. I noticed this morning you already. How long does it take to make pozole and tell everybody why we're eating pozole?
I did get one request for the pozole recipe, so I took some footage this morning and we'll do it. The getting it all together probably takes 2 hours, like to prep everything and cook, and then it goes into a slow cooker, and so it'll be on the slow cooker for 10 hours. But by the time everyone gets home over tonight, so whenever I'm doing pozole day, first thing in the morning I start the cooking, and then
and you
slow
learned
cooks
when
all
we were
day.
growing up in New Mexico. Did you learn to make pozole then, or did you figure it out later?
I didn't start cooking this till after we moved away from New Mexico, because I never had to.
Okay.
Someone else always cooked it. So
and people eat it around this time of year during the holidays.
Yeah, it's a December type of dish. It's sort of I don't know, how would you describe it?
If you tell people there's pork and hominy in it, and
people don't know what it is,
and it tastes a little carne asada-ish.
You just have to try it. It's one of those dishes that once you have it, you go, oh,
yeah,
I get it. It's
especially
pretty good though.
Especially all the toppings, and it's interesting when you eat New Mexico cuisine, because people always think Tex-Mex. What you eat in Texas and what you eat in Arizona and what you eat in Utah, Colorado, California, even Mexico, it's very, very different. Because I think of New Mexico, and sometimes like the Navajo, the Hopi Indian tribes are all there, Native Americans.
Can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
Because I've had you over for pozole and I've never said anything before.
Oh, boy.
Can you go easy on the meat? Like you sift through there with a ladle.
I do, yeah.
And you take all the meat.
Take it all.
And then everybody else gets one chunk of meat.
At
Meanwhile,
those people.
Don has 2.5 pounds of meat.
I got to get my protein in.
Just go easy on the meat.
200 grams of protein a day.
You're a guest, and just leave some meat for the rest of the people.
I make no promises. Hey, I will promise you this. Coming up on the Ron and Don Show, Dave Ross did Morning Drive and at Cairo Radio forever, did afternoons, middays, almost 50 years at Cairo Radio. Isn't that incredible? He's going to stop by next. We're going to have a chat with Dave Ross on the other side of this.
If you find yourself dreaming about a new home, go from just a dream to the Dream Team. Schedule your time at ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. And the great Dave Ross is here.
Wow.
Last time this is unbelievable, right? We're here we are.
Here we are.
And I know, you've done mornings, afternoons, middays on Cairo. You've traveled the world. You've sat with President Obama here in the Oval Office, and here you are sitting in a storage locker with us and Ballard with Ron and Don getting ready to do your first post podcast interview. How does it feel?
This is my first post retirement interview, and I think my first podcast ever.
Is that right?
And to me, this is like being on a soundstage in Burbank. So don't talk yourself down.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what it's been like since you've retired, and I'll double barrel question you, which I'm not supposed to do. Is it everything you thought it would be?
Well, actually, I was hoping that it would be a lot less than I'd been doing. People retire, say, I got to do something else. And I wanted to retire to experience the feeling of doing nothing.
Yeah.
For having no structured time, no agenda, no deadlines, to see how that was like and if I'd survive it. And I think I have pretty well. I've tried to do things that I could not do when I was having to follow the news constantly, like read books. I think I've read, 22 books or something this year, and joined 2 book clubs. We've joined a walking group, and I'm finally seeing parts of Seattle I didn't even know existed. And actually, I've sort of treated it like a long-term vacation. This is the perfect spot to be a tourist, right? People come from all over the world to be here, and I have the fortune of living here. So I've sort of treated it like vacationing in an exotic destination, and I'm trying to take it. Instead of driving home after the opera, we book a hotel and pretend like we're on vacation, and I think it's worked pretty well. I'm still getting older,
Us too.
and can't do all the things I used to do, but it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. What about the grandkids? I hear there was a move. I don't know if you want to tell people where you moved, but I think a lot of our audience knew that you're in Mercer Island, and now we're
leaving the Rock to be closer to our daughter who lives up north. So that means downsizing, and I guess if that's been the most difficult part of this, is going through 47 years of stuff, including a lot of reel-to-reel audio tapes and files and 8,000 commentaries, and deciding, what to keep and what to get rid of. And so we hit on a compromise. We're keeping everything. My wife is a retired librarian. She loves books. We have, what would you say, 3,000 books? I don't know. So what I will say is that the first thing we did with the new house was to turn it into a library. Every room upstairs has floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. We have been moving now for how many months would you say? About 9 months. The bookshelves are full. We're now putting some in a tough shed in the backyard, and I'm not sure where it's going to end.
Yeah. You didn't get fired a lot. Ron and I learned the first time that we got fired, and I got the moving bill. We went down to San Francisco, and boom, there's our first firing. And when I got a $10,000 moving bill, and most of it was for books, I just said, because we get a lot of books sent to us at the radio station, and you're going to have a guest on, they ask you to read the books. Right. Some hosts do, some don't. I have learned to take a book that I'm reading, and while I'm reading, I'll think about the person I'm going to give it to, and I write them a note.
Good for you.
And I give it away, because I don't want to pay that. I could get fired from my own show here in Ballard. We don't know, Dave. It's happened a lot. It could happen all over again.
Just don't tick Ron off.
That's right. Looking back at your Cairo days, when you think about your time there, did you enjoy more being a morning man, where you're basically sharing the news with folks, and then also asking intriguing questions, or an afternoon drive? It was a little bit different, where you're a host. There's lots of personality. There's lots of interviews, and you're not on a news wheel per se, right? What did you enjoy more?
I think the most because I've been going back over the old tapes. The most creative period in my show was back in the '90s, basically, when late '80s, early '90s, before Rush Limbaugh came. When Rush Limbaugh came along, we had to compete with him, and so they said, we're going to put you up against him. That's when it became more political. Before that, though, I was basically doing a radio variety show. We did skits, we did comedy bits, we did things like Dave Lackey and I drove a M60 tank at Fort Lewis, because that's what he did when he was serving in Vietnam. The Coast Guard dumped me in the water in a survival suit, to see how that was. So that's what we do. We take the show on the road and just sort of do crazy things. Later on, as Rush became more popular and political talk was where it was at, then they started to say, okay, you can start giving your opinions now. Because before that, it was like book authors and some of these bits, a completely objective interview show, basically. We weren't even taking calls. But suddenly we decided we're going to take calls, we're going to get political, and then things changed. I was still doing a lot of parody songs at the time. I'd do one once a week, basically. So that was the most creative time. The downside was, and I'm finding that out now as I listen back, was the amount of time it took to put all that together. Basically, it was full-time at the studio and then full-time at home while the kids were growing up. And my wife will attest to this. I was mentally absent a lot of the time, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I felt like I was getting to do everything I'd ever wanted to do on the radio.
Yeah. What's the interview you're most proud of?
That's hard to say. I guess George Carlin, because so creative and thoroughly professional. The first thing he said was, "Don't worry, I'm not going to swear on the air." And I loved his book, Brain Droppings. I thought it was more wisdom than comedy. Dave Barry, who came through, every time he did a book, was also. I found out that we grew up within like 10 miles of each other up in Westchester County. Another really funny guy. And I guess I have to put in the Obama interview. Now, the one in the Oval Office, they were trying to sell the healthcare plan at the time. So they picked sympathetic local journalists to go on this junket to Washington. So it's it's part dog and pony show. But I wasn't going to turn it down. I mean, to sit with the president in the Oval Office was a big deal to me. First thing I said to him when I walked in before they rolled the tape was, "Isn't Martin Sheen supposed to be behind that desk?" And he was very nice about it. He said, no, he left long ago. I mean, he was certainly welcoming and easy to talk to, and seemed genuinely frustrated, because I brought up to him that a lot of my listeners are saying that this is the last thing we wanted was this Obamacare thing. And I think that frustrated him personally, because I think he knew that what was happening, the status quo was untenable because of the way healthcare costs were going up. The thing that I'll tell you about the current situation is, I've actually been waiting for this whole Trump thing to happen.
Really?
Because this is the fruition of a model of government that was being pushed all during the Rush Limbaugh years. I would listen to him because he's my competition, right? And I'm saying, wow, he's doing this because he knows nobody will ever dare try it. It sounds great to talk about it, right? How let's run the government like a business, because he knows it'll never happen. Now it's happened. They've gotten their way. Not all the ideas are terrible. Government's pretty slow most of the time. People want action. But the idea that you can give people money to pay for their own health care and that's going to solve the problem, it's going to be interesting to see that play out. The idea that you can run the government like a business by putting Elon Musk in charge of personnel, how'd that play out? One of the things that was always frustrating to me is that when you're giving your opinion every day, there's really no way to know whether you're right or wrong until they've tried it and discovered in this real world laboratory that we're in now whether it does work. And this is what's happening. That's what's great about this country. Once in a while, we actually try to put these wild ideas into practice to find out who's right. And that's what I'm waiting to see. And so I'm watching with great interest as all these things play out.
What did he tap into? You were always very good tapping into your audience, understanding your audience, And also, I call it keeping the tent big. I think there's a lot of Republicans, Democrats, independents that listen to you. And even when you just you would share your opinion. It was always in a very smart, civil, respectful way. Now it's all about rage bait. You look at Megyn Kelly, for instance, and she couldn't get anyone to watch her on the internet after she got fired from network news.
Yeah.
So now she's just thrown out lots of rage, and a lot of people are following her and lining up. And I think they're mimicking, they're seeing what he does, and they're like, if that works for him, that
Right,
can work for
right.
me. Is that part of what he tapped into?
Well, I mean, I deliberately tried to be calm, even when I saw things that really bothered me. The time I really lost it, though, was the Iraq War was the big one for me. That was the only time I ever called a public official a liar, because Don Rumsfeld, Defense Secretary, was saying, Iraq, let 1,000 flowers bloom. We did a great thing. As you know, I campaigned to go there, and they finally let me go for 10 days. The first thing I saw there, they didn't have the city under control. There were machine gun nests along the roads of the airport because violence could break out at any moment. And I said, oh, they lied to us about this. I felt secure in saying that because I was there and I saw it firsthand, and I talked to Iraqis who said, if this is freedom, give us Saddam. So that's telling me, it's not working. It wasn't because of the military. There was a sign in the green zone there, where a big sign so that all the soldiers could see it. What have you done for the Iraqi people today? Right? The whole idea was we're gonna save this country. But it was pretty clear by talking to them that they knew their country was in trouble, but they didn't want to be saved by somebody else. It's humiliating, right? So. And I don't know where which side of the political spectrum my views fell during that period, but I was just reporting what I saw, and it didn't really care to me whose ox was gored. I remember in the first time we went there, when the war was actually being fought. I didn't cover the war itself, but I was in Qatar the year that they invaded Iraq. I was talking to students who had grown up in Iraq, and that's what they told me. They said, "Let us take care of this." Because for you to come in, I mean, how would you feel if Canada came to your country and said, "Oh, we're going to, give you health care"? And I mentioned this on the air, and I got a call from the station saying, "Couldn't you be a little more enthusiastic about how well we're doing in the war?" And I said, "Well, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is on the local TV stations here, they are replaying the shock and awe again and again and again, showing how the United States of America." Forces its will on the people. That was the idea. This is what America is doing to you. And so they weren't feeling the candy and flowers thing. They weren't going to, it wasn't going to be the liberation of France. And we knew that, like within hours of it happening. And yet they kept trying to push forward. That's the kind of story that you live to cover, I think, as a reporter, that kind of history.
Yeah. You've been around a long time, so you always see the pendulum swing at the midterms, right?
Yeah.
Double barrel again. What's going to happen at the midterms? And then, do you think the MAGA movement, does it rise and fall with Trump, or is there someone like J.D. Vance that can step into that?
I think one of the truest things Trump said was when he was asked, "Is there somebody who can take your place?" He said, "I hope so." There's no real heir apparent. I don't think. I can't deny that he has a very special skill set. It's like, the movie The Idiocracy. I mean, he knows that politics is large part entertainment. And he has tapped into this frustration with the slowness of democracy and getting things done. He gets and says, "I'll do this." And that's how he established his career in New York City, fixing the ice skating rink in Central Park. I remember admiring him for this. I mean, he cut through the tape of the bureaucracy, and he got it done. Yeah. And that's what he's trying to do here. But in Ukraine, for example, that means basically surrender, from what I'm seeing. This is the way to get it done. Just give up part of your country. It's not the same as real estate development. Real estate development, when you lose, okay, so, well, you guys are in real estate, you know that. Sometimes you win a negotiation, you get top dollar, and sometimes you don't. But generally, it's it's just a monetary thing. Here, it's a matter of national traditions and pride and the message it sends to a country like Russia to say, "Oh, if they'll cave here, what about Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania?" Places where we went on a cruise to the Baltic, And one of the things we saw, we're just there on vacation, but they are still terrified of a Russian takeover because of their history, and they see it coming again.
Yeah. The midterms, what's going to happen? And
What's going to happen? I don't know, but I have a feeling because you're seeing cracks in the MAGA wall. I mean, when Marjorie Taylor Greene gets fed up, wow, right? They've got trouble. So usually what happens depends on what's going on in the economy in like the 4 months before people cast their votes, which is hard for me to forecast. But gas prices haven't come down substantially that I can see. The price of a dozen eggs, I didn't know people loved eggs so much.
I ate 6 this morning, my son ate the other 6.
That's right.
Got to have protein, Dave.
I said, you got it.
You got to have protein.
One of my goals in retirement is to have your biceps.
All right,
okay?
let's do it. Yeah. Let's go do some CrossFit together.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see Marjorie Taylor Greene there. She does CrossFit as well.
So I would guess the Democrats will show some gains, but I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, he's also right about what we come to call as wokeness, identity politics. A lot of that stuff got tiring to people because it wasn't addressing their lives. So they got to find someone who can compete.
Yeah. Is that Gavin Newsom? Can someone from California
win? I kind of like, I mean, he seems competent, but he's, got the slick California hair, as he himself admits. And
it's great hair.
I know.
I love his hair. You love his hair, too. We both love his hair.
Well,
we have broadcaster hair.
Well,
we have radio hair.
Just let's remember, John Curley puts us all to shame. So
that's right.
In the hair department,
he does.
But no, I don't have any. I have no favorites. I think it's going to have to be somebody though who's got some showbiz in them, because that's where politics is right now. Yeah.
What do you think of our new mayor here?
Well, jury's out. I mean, I've talked to her a couple of times. I know that she's an idealist. I worry about idealists because sometimes they push their ideals even when it's clear they're not working. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you give people a chance. I'm not going to pile on someone who's just getting started. I think she's running for the right reasons. She sees things that need changing and want to do that. Same with the new mayor of New York City. New ideas, government-run grocery stores. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't. What I hope, though, for both of them, is that if they try it and it starts to fail, don't force a bad idea on people if it's not working. Right?
What's an example of that where you saw
communism?
Yeah.
I mean that's. I mean, I've been to Russia three times, and we talked to people, and everybody, the rank and file, had this motto: they pretend to pay us and we pretend to work. New buildings looked like old buildings the moment they opened because the workmanship was so shoddy. There was no motivation to produce or excel or innovate because they were trying to force this kind of artificial equality on people. It doesn't work. It's never worked. So you just have to hope that the people who go into office with big ideas have enough control of their egos to say, I was wrong here, and we're going to change course.
Yeah. This all started for you in your bedroom, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
what's the backstory? Because
my dad brought home a tape recorder one day. He was in advertising. He was a Madison Avenue art director. And one of his clients gave him a gift of a Revere tape recorder. And he brought it home, and he liked to play guitar and tootle on the piano, and so he recorded. And once I learned how to work it, I just started doing shows in my bedroom and just fell in love with radio. Actually, I think the reason for falling in love with radio was listening to Yankees play-by-play on a little radio in my bedroom. And as you tune around, you'd hear these stations from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and all across the country. And I said, wow, how do you get into that business? I was also interested in electronics, so my parents bought me these Lionel Electronics labs, and one of the projects was you could build a transmitter, little transmitter. So I put a transmitter, and I put it in the basement right underneath my father's bedroom, and then I tuned it to WCBS, which he used to wake up to, and then I could insert my own broadcasts into his radio. He didn't really like that, but I don't know.
Awesome.
The idea of being, sitting in my little bedroom and having my voice, go into the next room, and then we had a large yard, I had like an acre and a half. So I wired speakers all over the yard, back to we had a little tennis court in the back, into my sister's bedrooms, and I could flip switches and just send my radio programs, all around the property. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so the first thing I did after high school was go to local radio stations and try to get a job.
What was the road for you? What was the road to Colorado?
First job I got was in age of 15. We've spent vacations in Lake Placid, New York, upstate. We had a cottage on the lake. You needed a boat to get out there, but it also had a local hospital, and the person renting the cottage next to ours was the chief fundraiser for Lake Placid Hospital. And my dad was, he'd glad hand everybody, on the compound there, and he said, my son wants to be in radio. How'd you like to hire him? So he had a tape recorder, and he took me to all these fundraising lunches, and I would interview the rich people and the hospital people about how great the hospital was. And I'd splice them together, and I prepared these little reports, which were broadcast on WIRD radio in Lake Placid, New York, right across from the fire station, where the time tone at 12 at noon would be the 12 o'clock whistle. The DJ would open the window and say, "It's 12 o'clock." and
That's where that came from.
I know. And so that was my first audition tape, were those fundraising things, and then I sent that to the local radio station in Mount Kisco, New York, WVIP, your gray flannel radio station, the sound of suburbia. And I got a job there working nights using this new technology called FM. They had no idea what to do with it. Nobody was listening to it, but they had to put music on it. So I was there to put on Lenny D and the Magic Organ, the 101 Strings, the Ray Conniff Singers, and you just track the album. And while the album was tracking, I would make police calls for the morning news, timing it so that I got back in the studio in time to flip the album when it came to the end of one side. And I would, in high school, work from like 6 to midnight doing that. And also thought that was the coolest thing, because on a good day, you could be heard sort of in the Bronx. So I was in New York City.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that I remember was because I wanted to find out what it was like in the big time. And so I wrote a letter to WCBS Radio, which had just gone all news, and just asked for a tour. And they were very nice. They said, "Yeah, come on and sit in." And so I went to the station, and anchoring the news that day was a guy named Charles Osgood, who was sitting there, reading the news. And then the job I really wanted was the guy who was in the booth next door. Because every half hour, his job was to say, "News Radio in New York, WCBS, News Radio 880.
I love that.
And then he'd turn off the mic, pick up the newspaper, read for a half hour. Union job, baby.
How do you go from there? And because you first started out as Cairo as I believe as
I went to Atlanta
reporter,
after
right?
college. So during college, I was the class of '73 at Cornell. It was so that was 1969, freshman year. 69 and 70 were unrest on campus everywhere, burning tires, Vietnam War demonstrations, the March on Washington, D.C. I signed up for all that stuff and covered that for the local radio station, WTKO, and in Ithaca. And so at the end of when I graduated, I sent resumes to something like 130 radio stations around the country. Put on a resume. I'd done a few network feeds for the demonstration, so I had a pretty decent tape by then. And I got 2 offers. One was part-time in Pontiac, Michigan, and the other one was full-time at WSB in Atlanta. And WSB was I could hear them at night up in Ithaca, 750, 50,000 watts, big station. So I sent the resume down there, and they hired me straight out of college. And so I started on the police beat, homicide beat, going out with the cops every time they found a body. But that was also the time when Jimmy Carter had just been elected governor. And pretty soon there was a lot of political news happening at the state capitol, which was in Atlanta. And so I was on the political beat, and I covered Jimmy Carter and Andrew Young and Hosea Williams and Daddy King, and a lot of news down there. Murder capital of the world, as a matter of fact, back then. So not a great place to raise a family, I didn't think. So I knew we were not going to stay forever. But a great baptism into the news business because in terms of breaking news, you had the crime story, always a story. Disasters, we have floods. We had a tornado that knocked out the columns of the governor's mansion. So they said, Dave, go out and find the tornado. And, I don't care. As long as I got a microphone, I'm protected, right? Mm-hmm. So I got in the car and, drove out and covered the tornado. We had a tragic plane crash there. It was this idea that a news reporter was almost like a public servant. You're ready to go anytime, anywhere to report on things. The editor of the Atlanta Constitution was kidnapped and held for ransom by some crazy guy. And when the ransom note came out, I was there reading it, and you became famous overnight in that environment because WSB had a huge audience, and the idea that you could call up somebody and they'd want to come on the air with you was great. They had a show called The Merry-Go-Round, which was celebrity interviews. The DJ would interview all these people. Of course, they weren't really there at 6 o'clock. It was a producer who interviewed them, pre-interviewed them, and that was my job. So I interviewed Lawrence Welk, Bob Hope, and Ed McMahon, and anybody they could get with Tony Orlando, knocked 3 times. And the way we did it was I'd do the interview, and there were no carts. Everything was just reel-to-reel tape, and I would cut out my voice and leave the exact amount of time necessary for the DJ to ask the question and get the answer. So they just dead run the tape, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so you had to be accurate because if that tape's rolling no matter what.
That's right.
The worst thing I did was put one of those reels on the head thing, and you wind it on it's just a piece of recording tape on a reel with a piece of paper attached to it saying the ins, the out cues, and what it was about. The problem was on one of them, I wound it backwards. So the answer was, and I don't know what John Moore, the morning guy, did to explain that one away. But I was called into the office saying, that's the last time you do that, Dave.
Did that get you your job to Cairo first as a reporter and then as a show host?
Yeah, I sent I was hired at Cairo in 1978 to anchor the afternoon news.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
As a reporter in the morning, the way the shift worked was I got in like 10 o'clock and I'd go to City Hall or police department or courtroom or some news conference. And then I would come back at 1 to start writing the afternoon news, and then I was on from 3 to 6 with Dave Delackey.
That's great.
Yeah. And Jim French was doing talk. We were still playing music during the middays. We didn't really know how to handle middays. So we had news blocks in the morning, news blocks in the evening, and then sort of a hybrid mix of interviews and music during the day. The interview thing I loved, and that's what I wanted to do. And I made it known that if something opened up, let's do that. So sure enough, someone left. And I filled in, and they liked it. And eventually, they decided it was time to get rid of the music and go all talk. So they inaugurated 2 talk shows, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And so Jim French did mornings, and I did afternoons. Eventually, Jim French left, and I moved to mornings, and those were the years when I was opposite Rush Limbaugh, and just basically doing anything I wanted. I was amazed when the synthesizers were just being invented, and I had this little Casio thing, and I went to the program director and said, "You hear what you can do with this thing?" And he said, "Yeah, but don't put that on the air." Yeah. So I finally got a better one, and I couldn't. There weren't any karaoke tracks really then, so you had to write all your own tracks, and I started doing weekly songs, and people liked it. So I started putting together cassettes, and we'd sort of give them away as a premium during the annual Fight Hunger drives. And it was like everything I had dreamed about doing in the bedroom, or started doing in the bedroom, I was now getting paid to do on a pretty large radio station. And I can remember sort of pinching myself saying, how am I getting away with this? Especially when I listen back to the tapes now, I'm still saying, how did I get away with this?
I found you because I used to listen to Jim French when radio was at Cairo Radio. on Sunday nights. I was in my 20s. I found out my mom had breast cancer, and she sent us the box. And inside the box is all the letters we wrote to Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. Dave, I don't want to burst your bubble about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, but we don't have time to get into that. Ron's going to stop by and chat with you here in 2 minutes. But in there was also something I wrote in 6th grade about who I wanted to be when I grew up. And I, like you, when I was younger and my dad had split, my grandparents would come and they'd park their trailer on the side of their house. My grandfather was a snorer. So my brother, and they helped raise us. My brother would go sleep with grandpa out in the double beds in the trailer. My grandma would come in who had insomnia. And we would listen to Sally Jesse Raphael, and we would listen to Bruce Williams and talk
Bruce Williams, yeah.
And then we would mimic, because I was born in Chicago, WMAQ is going to make you rich, or WLS, Larry Lujak, who did Animal Stories, all that stuff. And I remember listening to your story on. I found you through Jim French, because I started listening through the course of the day, and I was in my 20s, and I got that letter that said, when I grow up, I want to be on the radio. And at that time, I owned a little car business. I was going to the University of Washington, and then I started listening to Vinny at night, and I'm like, damn it, if Vinny can be on the radio, then I can be on the radio too, and I'm going to find my way. So we did. So
you sure did.
Yeah. Such a thrill to sit here with you. Don't go anywhere. We come back. In fact, we're going to roll this into episode number 2. Ron's going to sit down. He has a few questions, and I want you to know I was Mr. Nice Guy today. It's going to be hard hitting, so put your football pads on, pal.
Okay.
It's going to get rough. We will see you on the other side of this.
Ron and Don, from radio to real estate. When you're ready to grab a cup of coffee and sit down with the guys, go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Dave Ross Show. Wasn't that awesome? Dave's going to be back this week. I talked to him today in our first episode. Our second episode, which drops on Wednesday, you're going to talk to Dave. And what are you guys going to chit-chat
Well,
about?
what I would like the Ron and Don Nation to do is to tell us who's a better interviewer,
Yeah.
me or Don.
Huh.
So, like, who brought out more of
We are having a competition?
the Dave? Now we are.
Okay.
The Dave Ross that you wanted to hear.
I love
Was
it.
it me or was it Don? No, I enjoyed your conversation with him. I don't know if you enjoyed my conversation with him.
I loved your conversation with him.
And so I don't know if people can appreciate what a rarity it is to have someone in your town to do what he did. And so we just went to Bob Rivers Memorial a couple weeks ago, and he was in this market for many, many, many years. Dave Ross, the same thing on a different format. But to have someone, it's a rarity in media. Most people, even our career was a rarity in a sense, and it got cut short, I think, in the way that we were let go. But it's rare to have someone that does multiple decades on the same station in a day part where people go, oh, I grew up with this person, or me and my kids grew up with this person, and we just know them and trust them. So Dave Ross is a treasure. I hope that he finds a way to take the archive that he has from over the years and to share that with everybody if they're interested.
Yeah, someone's phone's beeping. Is that yours or mine or Dave Ross leaves one? Oh, anyway. Real quick, before we get on there, Seattle Seahawks, number 1 across the board in defense, but I'll still say this. They haven't played a great quarterback yet. And now, did they play a great quarterback over the weekend? They did not, because we played the Colts. Again, you're listening to this after we played the Colts. I'm going to go to that game. People are really worried about the Seahawks, their quarterback, can he hang on to the football? Other people are saying, hey, when they have the number 1 seed, they go to the Super Bowl. In 2005, they had the number 1 seed, they went to the Super Bowl. Both times they went to the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, they had the number 1 seed. If the number 1 seed goes through Seattle, do they win the Super Bowl, and do you think it goes through Seattle?
I mean, I don't want to forecast all the way to the Super Bowl Sunday. I've been... It's weird the last couple games if you just see the final score of the game, you're like, oh, the Seahawks dominated these teams. And in a sense, that's true. But when you watch the game in its entirety, They've been really slow in the first half of both of those ball games, and then they sort of just outlasted people and racked up some.
Which
some
was
points.
Ron? That was a Pete Carroll model. That's what Pete Carroll did, especially,
Right, so
especially those 10 a.m. games.
That works well when you're able to hold the other team to a very low score like we did. However, once you get in the playoffs and the other teams have coaches too, and they look at their game plan development, if they can do some quick strikes in the first half, that completely changes everything for the Seahawks. So it worries me a little bit that you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's been basically shut out of the first half of both of the last two games. I think people are watching these game plans that other coaches have come up with and going, oh, that's what we need to do. And then Seattle's defense has held people to such a way that you then run away with it in the second half. That model doesn't work in playoff football, at least from the playoff football.
Let me tell you, that's a great point, Ron. Let me tell you the team I'm really worried about. So December 18th, we're all going to go. That's a Thursday night, right? So they're going to play the Colts this weekend, or by the time you listen to us, they've already played the Colts. And I'm hoping that they won that game. I would think if they had to go get a gentleman who's a granddad now who hasn't played, Phillip Rivers, in the NFL in 5 years and trot him out there. I don't know who played, but they should have won that game at home. December 18th, though, Thursday night football. Here come the Rams, and you got to beat the Rams at home. I think you can get so focused on that game that you dismiss and you really forget who your arch nemesis is, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. No one's talking about the San Francisco 49ers because of all the injuries that they've had. Even with all the injuries they have, all they do is continue to win, and they beat some good teams.
Is this
right?
Don O'Neill now that's hoping that we lose, or Don O'Neill that's hoping that we win?
Both.
Because you were we need to lose a couple games guy like less than 3 weeks ago. Now are you we got to win games guy?
You know what? I don't care if we win or lose against the Colts. That's one that you're supposed to win. But I really are we going to be able here in the last 4 games to beat the Rams on a Thursday night, and then you have to go down to San Francisco and play them for a second time? And we have not played San Francisco well at all in this era. So whether it's at our home or their house, so I'm more. No one's talking about that game, and that's the game that I'm really concerned about.
That's because the game's like a month away.
San Francisco game. What's that?
Or maybe
talk show, Ron. You got to make talk. Jeez.
No one's talking about the 2026 Mariners right now.
Don't you listen-
We got to get some extra pitching and a few bats to really make it and break through into the World Series.
Don't you listen to sports talk when they have things they've run out of? Finally, before we go, do you think the Seahawks need a vibe bunny? Evidently, the Philadelphia Eagles do. There's a vibe bunny right now in the locker room. And some of the players have come out and said, I don't really get the vibe bunny, but I have to say, like in talking to my son who's Generation Alpha is all about the vibes.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about
Let me explain what it is.
I don't know where the vibes came from.
Someone in the Philadelphia team bought like a 10-foot inflatable Easter bunny.
Yeah.
The one that you turn the fan on in your front yard, and they've installed it.
I have an elf on my front porch right now.
They've installed it into the locker room just to change the vibe. I don't have a problem with that. The environment in Philly is a very different vibe citywide than we have in Seattle. Yeah. Like that is a battery throwing, really negative city when it comes to their sports teams. And so I understand why they need a vibe change.
It's interesting because we noticed when we did sports talk here at KJR, and then also we did sports talk down in the Bay, kicking your ass around the Bay every afternoon.
1050.
3-7, the ticket 1050. You're home for Ron and Don. The interesting thing was on that station and also your KJR, when your teams are losing, people don't tune in. Back east, when teams are losing, like on a station called The Whip in Philly, that's when everybody is tuning in to talk about how bad their teams suck. And even when the teams are good, they still want to call in and talk about the parts of the teams that
Everybody
suck.
gets fired every day.
It's great radio.
Who should we fire today? Your phone call's next.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, we got to get out of here before we go. Don't forget, we pay the bills by doing real estate, whether you're buying, selling, investing. This is the time of year right now where you really got to pay attention. So.
Yeah, so let's do a Ron and Don sit down and strategize right now and going into 2026. If real estate wants to be part of your portfolio or part of your life, you need a different place. Go to ronanddonsitdown.com. You can email me, ron@ronanddon.com.
Yeah, and we have buyer's playbook, seller playbook. We can send those to you. You pick up a Ron and Don coffee mug. In fact, we just gave these to Dave Ross. It says, I sat down with Ron and Don. And then we can figure out kind of a game plan moving forward. But important, get your buyer playbook, your seller playbook together. And we're working on homes right now in 2025 that we're going to be selling in 2026. It is important to make sure that you do your work and really prepare your house to bring to market. The days of, I'm just going to take this house, it's a low interest rate, I'm just going to throw it on the market and sell it, and there'll be 12 people that want to buy it. Even though you haven't done any work or invested any time, energy, or effort, those days are gone if you want to get top dollar. So
Yeah, so let's sit down right now and put together a custom game plan for you.
what are you talking about on our Friday real estate show? I was talking to Randy from Cairo the other day. He still sells over there. He's thinking about getting into real estate. So we were talking real estate yesterday at lunch, and I said, hey, make sure you're listening to the Friday show. Ron explains a lot of cool things. What are we talking about on Friday?
I got to thinking, what is the real numbers on if you bought 10 years ago, if you bought a house or a condo, different parts of Seattle versus the east side, what is the rate of return on those different areas?
I like it. All right. Ron will explain that on our Friday show. Don't forget, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's the Ron and Don show, just like you used to here in Cairo. And then on Friday, boom, we drop some real estate knowledge. All right. Thanks to Matt today for producing today's show, except when Ron did not allow him to produce today's show.
My bad.
Yeah.
Apologies, man.
I also want to thank Grace for working on the studio, the 8-year-old version of my son for being the station voice. Charlie the dog is not here right now, but boy, does he demands a lot of treats these days. I don't know.
Very demanding.
I don't know what's going on. He's Ron. I'm Don, the stars of the radio program. And don't forget, what's that? Thanks to Dave Ross. And thanks to Dave. Oh, Dave Ross.
Thanks for Dave Ross.
Didn't I already thank him though?
We can
I
thank him
thanked
again.
him enough.
We can
What?
thank him again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave Ross.
He also said he would come in when Ron's going to say something coming up on the Wednesday show about whether he wants to come back in and do his commentary.
Thursday show.
Or the Thursday show.
Well, let's talk about that at the end of that
No,
show.
it's the Wednesday show. It's the Wednesday show. Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. I thought you were the producer of the show. You shouldn't let me boss you around like that. Hey, you guys, in the meantime, don't forget, you've been listening to the Ron and Don Show all day on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.